Hello. All right, so here's what we're going to do for the abdomen. I'm going to break it up into little mini sessions where you will have the outline, which is the quote unquote rubric. You will have the uh, PowerPoint presentation, and then you'll have a little mini quiz that you have to pass in order to get to the next session. Now, the mini quiz is only like 10, I think one of them is 11 questions, and you have to make a 90 in order to progress to the next session. Okay, so this one is going to be mini session number 1, regions and quadrants, and I'm going to share my screen with you. Here is the outline for the abdominal quadrants. The left upper quadrant organs and each organ contained within the left upper quadrant, the left lower quadrant, the right lower quadrant, and the right upper quadrant organs. Now, we'll also just quickly go over the 9 abdominal regions. It says to name plus each organ that is within each. However, on page 110 of Bontrager's, technologists only need to be familiar with the 9 regions, as the 4 quadrants are sufficient enough for imaging purposes. So let me share my PowerPoint with you. This is what I just said. So here are the quadrants, and we've gone over this before. Here is the left upper quadrant, the left lower quadrant, the right lower quadrant, and the right upper quadrant. Moving on over here in the left upper quadrant, the organs that we have here are the spleen, which is back here, the stomach, the left colic or splenic flexure. Now it's called the splenic flexure because it sits right beside the spleen. And anytime you hear the word flexure, that just means a flex. Okay, it's got a little bend in it. Also in the left upper quadrant is the tail of the pancreas, which is this yellow guy hanging out back here. You have the left kidney, which you can't see because it's in the back. And you have the left suprarenal gland. Now, supra means above, and renal means kidney. This is also called the adrenal gland. So this is the left adrenal gland, which sits on top of the kidney. In the left lower quadrant, we have the I just moved the picture. We have the descending colon, the sigmoid colon, and 2/3 of the jejunum. Now, the jejunum is the part of the small intestine that comes off the top, and it's in here. You just can't see it in the picture. So I should preface this by saying that the colon goes up, over, and down. That's the movement of poo through the large intestine. The ascending colon is over here. This is called the transverse colon, and this is the descending colon. Now, when it gets to this spot right here where it makes a little S, it's called the sigmoid colon, and then it's on down to the anus. So in the right lower quadrant, we have the ascending colon, and you can barely see it behind this Q here, but it is the appendix, the little hangy downy thing. We have the cecum, which is this pouch right here, and the ileocecal valve. So that is where the small intestines join to the cecum ileocecal valve. And then it goes up to the right upper quadrant, which contains this big guy right here, which is your liver. It also contains the right colic or hepatic flexure. It's the flexure right beside the liver. It contains this little guy right here, which is your gallbladder. This isn't on the notes, but your common bile duct is right here. It contains the C loop of the duodenum. So looking at this, see that structure that's behind the intestines? That's your C loop of the duodenum. It also contains the head of the pancreas, which is this yellow guy back here. Also, it contains your right kidney and your right suprarenal or adrenal gland, which is behind all this good stuff. So, moving on, we can zoom in to each quadrant. The left upper quadrant has the stomach, which is the outline of this pink thing right here. The spleen, which is back here, this purple little guy. The splenic flexure. The tail of the pancreas. The left kidney and the left suprarenal gland is in the back. And yes, it has part of the liver, but we don't really count it in there. Moving down is the descending colon, the sigmoid colon, where the S starts, and 2/3 of the jejunum, which is part of the small intestines, which is seen on this picture. Inside the right lower quadrant, you can see it a little bit better. There's your appendix. Here is your cecum. The ileocecal valve would be right here, where your small intestines meet this little pouch. And the ascending colon, that's where it goes up. Then we have the right upper quadrant up close. We have the gallbladder, the big guy is the liver. We have your hepatic flexure right there. The head of the pancreas, this yellow guy in the back. The C-loop of the duodenum, where it comes off the stomach, that is your C-loop. And this green guy in the back, you can see the gallbladder, and this actually comes from the liver and the pancreas, and this is your common bile duct. So going to the 9 abdominal regions, we don't have to know every single blessed one of them. We just need to know that somebody may come in with epigastric pain. So epigastric is going to be number 2. Take a look here. Number 2, epigastric pain. It's in the middle of the gastric region. Number 5 is umbilicus pain, because that's where your umbilical region is. And you may have pubic pain, which is down here in the pubic region. You'll also hear inguinal. That just means on these sides. But those aren't going to be necessary, because the 4 quadrants are usually sufficient enough for imaging purposes. So go ahead and do mini quiz number 1. There's the outline, there's the mini quiz. Do the mini quiz. Once you pass with a 90%, it'll open up the next session, which will be cavities. Ooh, have fun.